All right, Darielle, I think we are ready.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to take a moment and welcome you to the California Association of Healthcare Leaders annual meeting and awards ceremony this evening. I'm happy to have you all here. As we move forward, there's just a few housekeeping items for our audience. I'd like to make sure everybody takes a moment to mute their audio. That makes it a lot easier for the rest of us to kind of focus and concentrate on the important stuff. Also, please understand or know or be aware that we will be videotaping this presentation. So if you don't want to appear on camera, kill the video. So that way you can protect your beautiful face. But of course, we would rather see your beautiful face because we are still making it through this pandemic, and the more we socialize, the easier it is to, have a good time, in the words of Michael. See, I was listening, Michael. We also strongly encourage everyone to use the chat. The chat will be monitored, and we'd love to have questions, comments, thoughts, or theories posted in the chat to share. That's always a fun way to make the night go along and engage. Okay, I'll get started. My name is Darielle Earhart. I am the chapter president for the California Association of Healthcare Leaders. I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me to lead this association this year. It's been a fun and interesting journey, if you will, and have thoroughly enjoyed the support of our board and committee members and volunteers. Next slide, please. I'd like to get started tonight by thanking our healthcare heroes. Now, keep in mind, I work for a children's organization, so we are very, hero-oriented. But I would also like to take a moment to include housekeeping employees, food service workers, supply chain management and supply chain delivery individuals and employees, facilities maintenance, right? Our biomedical equipment maintenance people as well, and pharmacy. All these people that help our healthcare facilities and healthcare clinics run that are behind the scenes, and I don't think they get enough recognition. So I'd also like everybody to kind of take an opportunity maybe over the next month, if you see somebody walking down the hallway, just say thank you. Because these individuals work very hard and are very diligent in keeping us and our patients safe in a very precarious sort of environment. Next slides, please. I'd also like to thank our platinum sponsors, Gurnick Academy, Aya Healthcare, and of course, University of Phoenix, my alma mater. So these are the individuals that have contributed to our association for the last couple of years at the platinum level, and we thoroughly appreciate their support, especially as we've had to pivot over the last couple of years to provide virtual educational and events to our membership. Next slide, please. Our in-kind sponsors, these are our sponsors that, don't necessarily provide cash or money, but they do provide, facilities, services, or other in-kind contributions. Sutter Health, Aramark, Alameda Healthcare Systems, El Camino Hospital, St. Joe, Queen of the Valley, Gurnick, UC Davis Medical Center, Adventist Health, and Kaiser Permanente. So thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, and without further ado, Carrie. So Carrie Owen-Plutz is our regional Kaiser Permanente Northern California VP or president?
President.
Awesome. And previously, she has served as the ACHE governor from 2016 to 2019, and has served as the ACHE regent for California, Northern, and Central from 2013 to 2016. And finally, she is also a previous chapter president for the California Association of Healthcare Leaders and is currently serving as the chair of the American College of Healthcare Executives. So per Carrie's request, I've kept it short, but over to you, Carrie. Take it away.
Terriel. Yeah, there's nothing worse getting a long introduction of yourself. It is quite challenging. So I just wanted to say, let me first start off by saying a huge congratulations to all of you for making it through what has been an extraordinary we used to say a year, right? It was 6 months, and it was a year, and then it was 15 months. And at this point in time, I've stopped counting. And I'll tell you, it's so great to be back in California. I was just on a call with the Bay Area Council, looking at their support for requirements of vaccines. Very in-depth conversation. But it's great to be back in California. It's great to be back with CAHL, as Dariel mentioned. I have a past history of being a part of CAHL, past president, more than a decade ago. We don't like to talk too much about that, but it continues to be and is an amazing chapter with amazing leadership. And I am thrilled to see the advancement. Some of the individuals maybe on the phone call remember when we would agonize over the paper copies of our newsletter. And it was exciting to see the newsletter that just completely blew it out of the water that I just took a look at. So just really great. As Dariel mentioned, I'm the president of Kaiser Permanente Northern California and currently the chair of the American College of Healthcare Executives Board of Governors. The work all of you have done in California and continue to do, and let me just say thank you for taking the time out for your own professional development and joining CAHL this evening. Many of you I know work in all parts and facets of the healthcare industry, and if you're anything like Kaiser Permanente right now, we've got over 800 plus COVID patients on top of individuals who have deferred care from the first 3 surges that we had. Not just that, with the COVID landscape, but the historic wildfires across the state, the continued challenges with race relations, and helping our young people navigate returning to the classroom. I've seen the joy and yet concern and fear from many of our staff who are taking their kids back to school. We all know it's incredibly important to be in the physical classroom, but at the same time, to have that level of fear is just daunting. I know that the challenges we're facing on so many fronts can seem daunting. And when I look around the virtual room at all of your faces, I remain hopeful that we will, not just hopeful, I know that we will be successful navigating this. We just received very welcome news on Monday with the FDA granting full approval of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine and use of patients that are 16 and older. We know in the weeks to come, we will see more approvals. We will see more innovations and more approvals. The milestone just this Monday is just a terrific demonstration of what we can accomplish when we work together, as well as just a beacon of light that the end of the pandemic is possible. I just want to thank all of you for being leaders in healthcare and that you have this hope for the future, because if you didn't have that hope, you would not be on this call. So next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about Kaiser Permanente, and it's an incredible place to give and receive care. I'd like to share a little bit about my journey and the team that I've joined at Kaiser Permanente. It's been a remarkable 9 months for me since joining KP, so last November. Given the opportunity to not only lead Kaiser Permanente Northern California, but to do so during a global pandemic has truly been an awesome challenge for me. leading a culture, leading an organization with an unwavering commitment to its mission, to improve the lives of the communities it serves, just a both an honor and it's a privilege. The mission played a critical role in me joining Kaiser Permanente, and it has been absolutely critical in my ability to successfully lead Northern California during this global health crisis. As the pandemic continues to change the world around us, our mission and the mission all of you have with your organizations focuses on that North Star, that guiding light that keeps us in the fight to heal the sickest of the patients coming through the door and to ensure our community is healthy, and also to ensure our community gets vaccinated, gets as many members vaccinated as possible. I'm also impressed by just the innovation that COVID has brought to the table. You got to look at those bright lights, the shining lights. I'm so proud of what KP has accomplished in support of our members in the local communities. We stood up a lab in 2 months, and it's now serving 30,000 tests a day. I didn't think anything could move that fast. Virtual care, I think all of us were saying, gosh, it'd be really great if we got the physicians to do more virtual care visits. I'd love to have a virtual care visit. So we were doing in 2019, 100,000 video visits in Kaiser Permanente, which 100,000 is quite a lot. But just between March and November of 2020, our KP physicians did nearly 3.7 million video visits. That would not have happened without an international pandemic. I'm sad to say, but let's take again the bright lights there. The remarkable work around telehealth video visits is just another example of not just KP's commitment to providing services to our members and patients, but it's also what all of you have been able to do through this pandemic. Vaccinations, let's talk about vaccinations. So we were committed to the vaccinations all along. We came out early on the mandate, worked with the White House on the mandate. We helped set up the Moscone Center and the mass vaccination sites. A huge shout out to everybody on the line for your organizations and what you've done to support vaccinations, not just for those who easily access the vaccines and who wanted the vaccine, but from diligent conversations, going into the churches, going into the small communities, going into communities of color where that vaccine hesitancy was and still is. I'm so happy for your work there as well. So let's jump ahead on the slides a little bit, if you would, for me. Yeah, so that's me rounding, and I wish at some point in time I could switch this to a non-masked video or picture. That's just not going to happen in my near future. Tomorrow I'm going to be in the COVID ICU up in Roseville that now has 130 patients in the hospital with COVID. So at some point in time, we will get past the mask maybe. But what hasn't changed in that picture and is so true is that leadership takes courage, and being on the front lines is absolutely critical now more than ever. Next slide. All right, so I always do KP by the numbers. This is KP overall, not just Northern California. We happen to be the largest region within KP, but sometimes it's always good to kind of set the framework of the magnitude of what we're talking about. So we're founded in 1945 in California. So we're California started. Kaiser Permanente is the largest not-for-profit health plan in the country. Next slide. So I had to stop here and talk about Belong at KP and our team. And you talked a little bit about this earlier, about what draws people to KP. And I'm not doing this for the sake of promoting people to come to a KP, which I would love that. That's great. But it's really about the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion right now, not just for KP, but for all of your organizations, for healthcare overall, and for ACHE. So working to build a highly inclusive, engaged, psychologically safe workplace for everyone, to make sure everybody has the equal opportunity to reach their full potential and use their diverse perspectives to strengthen what we do for our mission. So we have quite a few programs at KP, and I'll say we doubled down on this work, as many of you did after the tragic murder of George Floyd. Facilitating listening sessions, committing to developing and implementing programs with racial, ethnic, gender equity in mind, looking at all of our quality metrics from the lens of equity, launching Belong at KP, which is a multi-year program that we have to combat bias, racism, understand that racism is a public health crisis, combating social injustice, and also promoting an environment where everybody feels valued and this feels like they're treated fairly. I'll say we are not where we need to be yet. We aren't, but we're committed to continuously working to be even better and better. And what we even come up with today and what we get to today is not going to be good enough for tomorrow. So it's that continuous improvement. So go to the next slide if you would. So let me talk about ACHE because I'm happy to answer, because we're going to do some Q&A if people have questions later on after I'm done, because I'd much rather have Q&A than talk about slides. But American College of Healthcare Executives, helping leaders to lead. So we're 48,000 members right now, which is great. So you should be very proud of the organization that you belong to. We are the home for healthcare management professionals. We represent diverse disciplines, career levels, healthcare settings, race, age, and gender. Next slide. So this is a busy slide, but what it highlights is ACHE's 2021 to 2023 strategic plan, which is advancing health through leadership. What a perfect strategic plan for not just being in a COVID world, but also in hopefully a post-COVID world. You'll notice at the bottom of the triangle is the foundation for the plan, which is ACHE's vision, mission, and values. And they have not changed. We start with educate, engage, and inspire leaders to improve health. And I know that all of you also play a key role as a catalyst, as a connector, and as a trusted partner. That's the role that CAHL has always played, and it's the role that ACHE plays too. Next slide. So I always like to go through the numbers, talked a little bit about this. I am proud that we still have and are growing 77 chapters. Our website was horrific in the past. It is much better, still moving in the right direction, but quite a few, much more social media, better web page. Actually, CAHL would probably suggest that we're even worse than I'm suggesting, because CAHL always comes to the table because you represent Silicon Valley and so many other tech savvy team members. You probably could run circles around the ACHE webpage, so feel free to comment on that as well. Next slide. I'm going to talk about our COVID approach. We quickly pivoted, just as all of you did for COVID. So understanding that we needed to respond, so that responding from the standpoint when everything shut down, how can we serve our members through free webinars? How could we provide a COVID resource center available on the website? And how could we expand our virtual face-to-face programming when people could not travel, nor was it safe for people to be in the same room together? Reimagine, so redesigning programs to support leaders, activated scenario-based plans. We also reinvented. We applied lessons learned over the time. Elevating the priority of increasing our diversity in leadership was something that's always been a part of ACHE. I'll speak to that in a second. But really saying, how can essentially we reinvent how we're approaching diversity, equity, inclusion? And how can we also prepare and enable leaders to reach their highest potential, even during a pandemic? You could easily focus in on just what's in front of you in that day, but understanding that leadership development is a never-ending journey, especially during the international pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, you'll all know this, right? So we had limited virtual education for specially qualified education in a virtual format. So in 2020, ACHE pivoted toward a virtual model for delivery face-to-face. Our national programs, we delivered 88,000 face-to-face CEUs. And so far in 2021, we've delivered more credit hours face-to-face than we did in all of 2020, if you can believe that. So we're growing actively in that space and understanding that we need to actively work towards our long-term approach knowing that having more flexibility in the virtual space is really critical for our remote areas and for people who are just frankly busy. So slide 9, if you go ahead. Thank you. So let's talk about Catalyst for a second. So pop ahead if you would. Catalyst connector and trusted partner. Go ahead. So it's all about, you can go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. Perfect. So ACG plays this role, as I mentioned, catalyst, connector, trusted partner. One key way of being a catalyst was around our leading for safety, and so supportive of all of you. Thank you very much for taking the Safer Together pledge early on. Death by preventable medical errors has been the 3rd leading cause of death in the US for many years, eclipsed only by cancer and heart failure, and you all know that. In 2021, it dropped to 4th due to COVID. So it highlights that the journey for leading of safety is not over and is an opportunity for us to continue to work as a connector. And looking forward to the continued work at ACG and also what CAHL can contribute leading for safety in the organizations in Northern California and Central. Slide 12, if you move forward, partnering for advancing diversity and inclusion. So we're partnered with multiple organizations and have. One of the hallmarks of ACG has been the commitment to advance diversity and inclusion. And if you flip to the next slide, ACG, again, we've been leaders since the 1960s. You wouldn't think that would be the case, especially if you look at the original Board of Governors for ACG. I will just suggest it's not very diverse. We did have one nun, so that was probably the extent of diversity early on in ACG's early years. But in 2020, the Board of Governors reprioritized ACG diversity and inclusion and changed up its DE&I diversity programs. So we have the Thomas C. Dolan Executive Diversity Program. Since 2014, the Dolan Executive Diversity Program has provided career development, networking, mentoring for healthcare leaders across the spectrum, racially, ethnically diverse backgrounds, and making sure we also include individuals who identify as LGBTQ+. In 2020, we piloted a new cohort for mid-careers called the Career Accelerator Program, focused on diverse candidates as well. ACG diversity communities, new in 2021, we've created online discussion platforms for peer-to-peer networking, resource sharing. So access to the Asian healthcare leaders and the LGBTQ healthcare leaders online communities, as well as the physician executive community, is included in the membership dues. There was a discussion early on by the board, should it be separate? Should it be an additional fee? And it was emphatically turned down that the Board of Governors, that this needs to be part of the global membership and the belonging and support needs to be there. We also included or started an executive diversity career navigator. I don't know if anybody's taken advantage of it, but it's a site completely created in partnership with several organizations mentioned on the last slide. It's access to free webinars, articles, and just offers a great navigation that I think heretofore lived in separate organizations, but now just by being a member of ACG, it's a place to go for further career navigation, which I think is great. And then let's see, I have to highlight the acknowledgement. So it's all good and well, but it's also good to have benchmark. And we were really excited that we achieved ACG, and you all should be very proud. I was awarded the prestigious Welcoming Environment Organization Award in 2019 from the Association Forum. So of all the associations out there for professionals and work, we were recognized, which is absolutely amazing. All right, next slide. And then you can go past this one. I'm going to speed through so we can get to discussion. So connecting with colleagues, so connector. Is this not the epitome slide for what we've been working with and actually working with right now? And I'm going to be blinded here in a second as the sun drops. You clearly can see that it is not a foggy day in Oakland. So apologize for my half sun, half non-sun face. But we've been connecting with colleagues as part of ACG. That's what we're known for. And so how do you continue to have that connectivity in a virtual space? So We created community connections, virtual events and meetings in both 2020 and in 2021. The new online communities also provide the opportunity to connect directly, peer-to-peer, and share best practices. We eagerly anticipate a return to in-person education and networking. And originally this slide said in late 2021. I don't know. We will see. We're currently planning for Congress to be hybrid. So hopefully we will be able to have some in person there. But as we all know, we have to be agile and flexible in this world. Next slide. I don't have to tell you how important chapters are. CAHL is an amazing chapter. It's one of the largest in the country of the 77. The only one I think that beats you out, New York, Chicago, and the federal sector, which the federal sector puts us all to shame. There are thousands and thousands at this point in time. So next slide. One of the things, and this is one area I'd love to get more feedback from the group and maybe a point of discussion, not just today, but maybe in the future, is that we have a rich array of benefits. So we have Healthcare Executives, which is our signature member magazine. We do it 6 times a year, both in print and online. And the Journal for Healthcare Management, which is our official journal. It's the peer-reviewed journal, and it's dedicated to providing frontline insight to complex situations. And then we have Frontiers of Health Services Management, which is also peer-reviewed health leadership research journal, and that's on a quarterly basis. Next slide. So we're also a trusted partner. You know, this is where I, just from a personal standpoint, it absolutely, and maybe you feel this way as well, is that you can change organizations, just like I have gone from California to Atlanta, come back to California, 3 different systems in the matter of a decade. And ACHE has been a constant. It's been a constant since I was an undergraduate student at James Madison University in healthcare administration. And it's been with me for multiple decades, because I'm not going to completely date myself. So it's an organization that stays with you, right? It's a partner for education. It's a partner for career. The FAC credential, you're now seeing on social media how people are highlighting how they passed the Board of Governors exam. Congratulations also to any of you who have just recently passed or are already a fellow. Good job for your certification and for being board designated. We also are expanding our Career Resource Center, and you've probably seen that over the past couple years, how much more is available in that Career Resource Center, not just for those who are changing careers, because I think that's where many people have placed the focus of using a Career Resource Center, but it's also on, you know, how do you currently thrive in your current job? How do you build the best teams from a career standpoint? It's a resource center. So think about that the next time you are moving forward, either in a new job or looking for further development of where you are today. So let's see, next slide. I think we've got a little bit more. All right, trusted partners and collaborations. This is something that's been out there for a little bit. I know CAHL has been partnered with HIMSS, has partnered with HFMA, and I'm sure has partnered with a lot of different groups as well. ACHE has been in a position recently, maybe the past 5 years, where we have been approached by many different organizations saying, and I'll just give the example of the American Society for Anesthesiologists saying, our members are looking for leadership development, and we know that ACHE is there and it already has anesthesiologists as a part of the organization. How can we partner to create a leadership development pathway for physicians who are looking to get into leadership, not just into administrative leadership, but how do they better lead the groups that they have today? So really filling in some holes that maybe MGMA or other APA is not able to fill at this point in time. So I'm excited to see these this is just 4 of the ones that we have so far. And we've got quite a few more that are in the pipeline. Next slide. On-site learning partner. This is the other thing maybe to think in, and something that we continue to explore within ACHE and conversations within the board is how does ACHE, so much content, and there's so many needs within health systems and organizations. How do we partner to meet and tailor the needs of different organizations with the rich content and the experts that we have? So we've got great on-site learning partners that we are already working with, and building in at the same time face-to-face credit hours for the individuals along the way. Next slide. And I can't, I think this is my last slide. I can't get away with talking about the Fund for Healthcare Leadership. Otherwise, I would lose my job as a. I think I was voted in, so they'd have to, I'd have to go through a recall election or something. But on the Fund for Healthcare Leadership, such an important role and a function, especially now, supports a lot of our programs with DE&I. Especially our fellows, and what we're doing differently and how we're funding the next ventures to help our organizations and ACHE overall get to the next level. So really appreciate all of you who have contributed to the fund in the past and are thinking about contributing. Highly encourage you doing that. It's the best tax deduction you'll ever get. All right, with that, I think I'm going to finish it up by, if you go to the last slide, there is a huge thank you for being awesome leaders within CAHL. So proud to see the organization where it is today from where I left it. You've taken it to places that I could never have imagined. I'm so proud to be and thankful to be a part of CAHL now. And a personal thank you for what you have given up, both personally and professionally during this very, very, very difficult time in our nation's history. We will be forever marked by what we have experienced. And I do think we have so many wonderful, beautiful things that have happened as part of this experience as well, that we can take forward and make sure that the healthcare that we provide in the future is even better, even more focused on our patients, and even more focused on ensuring our communities are well taken care of and healthy. With that, thank you so much for having me here tonight, and I'm happy to answer some questions. And I'm going to go close my blind at the time.
I was just going to say the sun is shining brightly on you, Carrie.
I know.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carrie. Very much appreciate all you have done for both CAHL and what you're doing for ACHE as well. Are there any questions for her?
Hi, Carrie, it's Nikhil. We've asked for questions in the chat, but to get us started, you touched on it a little bit earlier. How has ACHE benefited you throughout your career? Well,
I get to meet cool people like you, Nikhil. Yes, Nikhil and I go way back. Thank you for the question. Nonstop, I think. Well, first of all, it's so great to see smiling faces that I don't know along the way, if I hadn't have been part of ACHE, hadn't have been part of CAHL and part of this chapter in the past, that I would be able to say, oh, hey, Eric, how are you? Looking great. Darielle, so it's that connectivity, as well as especially when you go to a different state, going 3,000 miles away, immediately I had a network to call upon, which was excellent. It's people, like-minded individuals, people to have an immediate connection with. And the other piece, I'll tell you, I still have a text message or a note. I think I copied it into notes. Mike Facina, who was the previous chair of ACHE, if some of you don't know, was running the New York hospital that got hit with COVID at the very beginning of the pandemic. And I was in Atlanta and we were preparing for surge, and he just gave me a litany of, look for this, look for that, be creative with this. And it's frightening to look back on. It's like, don't forget your O2 tanks will freeze outside because you're using so much oxygen. To be able to call upon people in New York and Michigan and Texas and California at the time, just to say, how are you doing? How are you holding up? What are you learning? Can you send me your PPE policy and procedure? It always stays with, ACHE always stays with you, no matter where you go.
Hi, Carrie. I have one for you.
Hey, Eric.
Thanks for the shout out. Yeah, and it's so nice to see all the board members and volunteers and everyone. Like Carrie said, it's like a reunion every year, and I truly hope we all get back in person too. So thank you, Carrie and Dariel, for your comments around the healthcare workers and just really being successful through this pandemic. And so I have a question centered around resiliency. As we're hearing on the national news and everybody else that the healthcare workers are every day, and those of us that are rounding every day, or your office is in the middle of a unit, you feel it, you know it, and we're living it, right? So I personally, as a leader, go through the facility, try to be as lighthearted as I can be, joking, laughing, wearing a taco hat on my head on a Tuesday because it's Taco Tuesday, whatever it takes to bring some resiliency, but at the same time, bring in whatever they need to get the job done. So that's at work, right? And at home, I live for my vacations. I hope that would be one right there, right? So in my wall, and Navi knows this, and probably Michelle, my dry erase board not only has metrics, but it has my countdown to vacations, right? And when I'm going to the next. So my question for you is, personally, what do you do to find resiliency and keep your cup filled?
Yeah, thank you. It's such a great question. And yes, I always live to hear about your RV stories. So yes, I'll tell you a couple different things. And it's a great question. And if you all haven't found what it is for you, please take the time to try to figure it out and discover what it is for you, because we need everybody in a place of strength right now. So where do I get my my strength and my resilience? So every morning and every evening I journal. And there's a couple, it's a mind setting thing for me to focus in on. All right, how do I want to show up today? What do I want to accomplish today? And making sure that I'm, I read some pieces in Stoicism, which if you don't read anything about the Stoics, it sounds very cerebral, but it isn't really. Just, pick up a book. It's just wonderful to have something that makes you think creatively and beyond the normal day-to-day. So I read a little bit about Stoicism every morning. And then I have a gratitude journal at the end of the day to say, what am I grateful for? And when you start and end a day with the right framework to say, I'm going to show up today for my team to be happy, to wear a taco hat. I'm going to show up with my team to think about that. And I think there is, for me, this power of just putting yourself in the right mental framework to show up. But it's not just that, it sets up the rest of my day in a much more optimistic, I'm going to tackle this today. And one of the things it says at the end of the questions, because it's a question answer, is what are you most excited about today? And what I have found, it's a mind trick, is I will list the thing I don't want to do that day at all. Like the one thing I don't want to do is the thing that I'm most excited about this. I'm super excited to have this conversation with, X. It's all about, for me, it's all about mindset. And then, the other pieces beyond the journaling, which is so important, is taking care of myself. getting exercise, getting outside, getting fresh air, getting sunlight, eating healthy, drinking lots of water, getting sleep. So kind of those basic things, but sometimes we put oh, I love this. So it's kind of like, when you get on the airplane and they always say, they show this, it always kind of bothered me that you put on your oxygen mask before you put it on your kids. I always felt, bad about that. I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to put it on the kids first. But it highlights, you have got to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else, no matter how much you love, respect, and want to support them. You got to take care of yourself first. And sometimes that's the last person we take care of. So hopefully that was helpful. And I would love to get feedback from others if you've got other cool ideas. I wish I could say it was going RVing, but I need a vacation. So I am overdue, but I'm good.
Carrie, I think journaling is fantastic. We have a couple more questions in the chat, if I can ask those. The first one is from Jacqueline. She's asking, during time CAHL and ACHE, do you have a favorite memory that stands out?
I missed the first part. Do I have a memory that sticks out for?
Yes.
Yes, during your time with ACHE and CAHL, do you have a favorite memory?
Oh gosh.
So many, I know.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I was 8.5 months pregnant when I got the Robert S. Hudgens Young Healthcare Executive of the Year Award. And that my OBGYN allowed me to travel. That was an awesome experience. I was glad to be there. And it was just, it was a wonderful day. There's so many though, there really is. I mean, I have flashbacks of being in different boardrooms with the CAHL group when we had 10 people around the table. Just so many. Thank you. It's a great question, but I probably being very, very pregnant in front of 2,000 people is probably something I'll stick in my memory box.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate your time. I think I've first met you about 6 years ago and inspired me to stick with healthcare. Actually, at the time, I think I was looking at other industries or going back to IT. So your influence, whether you realize it or not, is wide and far and can run deep. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being a pillar of hope and a pillar of inspiration to those of us who are navigating our own careers through the healthcare system.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. That just made my day. That will go in my gratitude. So appreciate it.
Yeah, you were working at Sutter in Sacramento. Remember the day vividly, interestingly. So that's the profound impact you have.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We can let Carrie go unless you want to hang out and see some of the rest of our amazing program.
I always want
we're
to
gonna
hang out. I always want to do that. And I'm waiting for a legal call back. So I think I'm going to have to jump off, but so appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe, be well,
Thank you.
Wear a mask, get vaccinated.
All right, next slide, please. I'd like to introduce your presidential team, yours truly. Thank you. But I'd also like to take a hot minute to thank Michael O'Connell for joining our executive team as this year had already started. He stepped into this role to fill a vacancy. And I have to admit that having Michael on this team has been a joy and a pleasure. And to give you a little information about him, he is the Chief Operating Officer for University Healthcare Alliance. It's part of Stanford. You can tell by his amazing background, which I'm going to have to steal from him at some point. And what's even more interesting is that he has served on other chapter boards and brings this wealth of knowledge and expertise and leadership to CAHL that we've been able to leverage and tap into. His feedback is always, spot on, and he always has these amazing insights that, completely escape me at times. So thank you, Michael, for your support this year. And of course, Kim Brown Sims was our fearless president last year that led us through the epic 2020 that will go down in history as the most horrible year of our lives. But she helped us navigate through that and come out on the other side shining. And like ballerinas, we just pivoted across the dance floor and followed her. So thank you, Kim. Next slide, please. Our executive team, as you can see, also includes Baljeet. Baljeet's going to be presenting here shortly. Kimmy has been our treasurer since, I think, Jesus's first coming. She has held us together financially, and I've been completely appreciative of her efforts. Shauna Taylor, who is new to us this year and has been holding down the fort as secretary, and between her and Tamara have kept me on the straight and narrow and fulfilling my own responsibilities. So thank you. Next slide, please. So a little bit of the chapter overview from last year. You know, it was a year where everything started out great and then everything ground to a halt, as we all know. But under Kim's leadership, she was able to pivot and move us forward on the virtual platform. And as you can see, we ended up with a very strong year with 29 events. And she pulled together our board members, our committee members, volunteers, and really dived in to, you know, help us be successful this last year in the face of just about every obstacle you can possibly imagine. So, you know, this is just a little bit of a snapshot. Next slide, please. This year to date, we're hit the ground running earlier in the year with some virtual events. ACHE initially allowed us to develop virtual events through June, and now we are allowed virtual events through the end of the year. I will congratulate our CAHL LPC in holding our first face-to-face event, hopefully not our last this year. So well done, and thank you for that. And we do have a number of events coming up the rest of this year to fill this in a little bit more. Next slide, please. Okay, I just wanted to highlight, you know, a lot of, you know, chapter members and individuals I speak with about CAHL really don't understand, you know, the work that goes into producing a lot of the events that they attend. And for example, the Board of Governors last year had to pivot from in-person, you know, those all-day Saturday events somewhere in Vacaville. They pivoted and moved to the virtual environment, and now they've partnered with the San Diego chapter in Southern California and have been producing these series of exam prep courses with various topics. I've had the privilege of attending one myself, and it was a nice little refresher for myself. But that's resulted in 14 new fellows and 33 that are now in progress. So fantastic work. The statewide College Bowl, it went statewide this year. It was held virtually for the first time ever. And HCE and CAHL, you know, did a fantastic job of working with us and helping to pull that together. Our mentorship program has actually grown this year. So we've grown to 54 mentors, and we've had 23 mentor pairings. Somehow I'm in the mentor pairing for the fall cohort, so this ought to be exciting. I'm looking very much forward to it. And, you know, just when you think, you know, there's nothing else that can be done, these programs just keep growing and growing. Our HEN, or Higher Education Network, has also been, you know, expanding and growing and continuing our events and speaking with students on the various topics that are currently affecting our healthcare industry. So I would like to thank our board members and committee members and volunteers for all their hard work this last year in pulling these events together and producing some great programs in support of our membership in ACHE. So round of applause. Perfect. Next slide, please. This is your committee for 2021. It's a very busy slide. I don't expect everybody to read it, but this is the number of individuals that are involved in producing these events and developing a platform to support our membership. As you heard Carrie mention, we are one of the largest chapters in the US. I think we also compete with Georgia, so they're another large chapter. But we've been doing very well thanks to our committee members and volunteers and our board. So thank you. Next slide, please. We also have chapter members who serve as committee representatives at the national level, the ACHE level. So huge shout out for their work. It continues and broadens. These individuals not only give of their time for our board here in California, but they're giving of their time to ACHE and the committees that they're serving on. So I'd like to take a moment to thank them, round of applause, for their hard work and dedication in helping ACHE and the California Association of Healthcare Leaders be successful. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass this off to Baljit. Baljit? Baljit? Bueller? There he is. You're up, Baljit. You're muted. I don't think he can hear us.
Hey, can you hear me now? Yep, looks good.
Good.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jariel, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. So first off, major appreciation to Navi and Nikhil for all the choreography to get this evening and get this set up. Fantastic effort, and thank you so much for setting it up and making it such a great, intimate experience for all of us. So thank you again for the opportunity to present and speak to you as your regent this evening. Couple of things. My day job, I am the Deputy Director and Chief Operating Officer of the San Francisco Health Network. But I come to you today as the Regent. And what that is just for a quick orientation before I jump into the fun stuff, a Regent, we are one of 70 that comprise the Council of Regents for ACHE. And we are the elected legislative body of ACHE, which represents over the 48,000 members that we have and growing. And we are the link between ACHE and the members that approve governance and membership regulations, promotes ACHE programs and services and activities, and really works to enhance chapter relations in healthcare and community outreach. We also elect the Board of Governors and the chairman, and we establish the Regents Advisory Council, which, the next slide. This is this year's Regents Advisory Council. And so we are really privileged, and I'm really lucky to be able to work with such an incredible group and slate of individuals. And now the RAC, as we call it, really their role is to provide advice to the region on matters of all ACHE policy, and really work to promote the interests of ACHE members that are represented in the area, and really serve as that, how do we serve as an operational tool for the chapter. We also provide activities and advice to CAHL, and also particularly the higher education network participants around activities and what else we can do to enhance the value add of the organization. But more specifically, the fun part is we get to work and review the Regents Award nominees. And so this evening, we're really excited to present those individuals that have been recognized to really being incredible leaders in the field. And the next slide will actually show you some of the criteria for what is really utilized this year to gauge all of our exceptional nominees and eventually the winners that you'll hear about tonight. I won't read over every single thing in here, but some of the key components that really highlighted the nominees you'll hear from tonight are really folks that demonstrate incredible leadership and advocacy to enhance our JEDI principles: justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. Also worked really around the clock and really tirelessly around our COVID-19 pandemic, racial unrest, looking at across the US, and really being a champion for advocacy and moving us forward, not just as a profession and in our region, but really as a society. And really these individuals modeled ACHE's code of ethics, demonstrated really an innovative and creative management of how then they're applying all these principles into their day jobs, which are in and of themselves incredibly difficult and challenging, but they all have risen to the challenge. And so tonight you'll hear from some folks that will tell you all about our candidates, but also I would love to share a few parting words with you all, since this is my final award ceremony as your regent. And so I just wanted to thank you all and thank the membership for making it one of the most informative, educational, and humbling blessing and privilege of my professional career. We have seen, as you heard from Carrie, some of the best and worst of society in the last 3 life-changing years for me as I've been the regent. And I value all the leadership and advocacy that you all championed because of it. The murder of George Floyd, a long, long overdue recognition that Black Lives Matter, a social justice renaissance, wildfires that blanketed the entire West Coast. I mean, the sun didn't come out one day, for crying out loud. It was crazy. And then, our unanimous denouncement of attacks on Asian Americans and Pacific Islander communities, and really banding together in support, and the continuing response to the global pandemic. It has been really a gift, and I am not saying this as a general catch-all, but it has really been a gift to represent all of you, and it has been an honor to represent the voices of many of you on social justice issues via the Regent platform. I won't stop supporting you all, and will continue to do so as a proud CAHL and ACHE member. And I thank you for having the faith in CAHL and ACHE to really affect the change and improve the profession. But most importantly, thank you for the faith in yourselves to be the ones that are actually doing that. And so with that said, I'm thrilled to introduce 2 wonderful friends and colleagues and RAC members who will be presenting tonight's Regents Awards. The first will be Brianna Galloway, a former Regents Award recipient herself and currently the Director of Patient and Family Engagement at Sutter Health. She will introduce the Early Careers Healthcare Executive Awards. Following Brianna will be Abraham Cicchetti, a longstanding member of the RAC as well, and the Sacramento Campus Director at Gurnick Medical Arts will present the Senior Healthcare Executive Awards. And so with that, I turn it over to Brianna.
Thank you so much, Baljit, and thank you so much for your leadership, your partnership, and your friendship over so many years and many years to come. We all appreciate you so, so much. And with that, I am pleased to present our first Early Careers Award to Navpreet Atwal. He will get thank you. Since joining CAHL in 2017, Navi has supported and led the launch of several key chapter initiatives. With no precedent or blueprint, she successfully launched the inaugural CAHL annual report in 2018, as well as the inaugural CAHL Congress event in 2019 and 2020. Initially, that was envisioned as a 2-day event in beautiful Monterey, and Navi worked with leaders across the chapter to pivot to the virtual CAHL Congress experience that many of you attended and benefited from. In addition to her contribution to CAHL, she also models this vision and leadership in her professional work, partnering with her team to launch Gen KP in Pleasanton. Gen KP's mission is to provide energizing cross-organizational collaboration, professional development, and powerful networks to inspire and empower KP employees across teams and generations. Further, Navi supported OneLink's senior leadership team in implementing enterprise resource planning for the Southern California grants community, and she contributed to the development of a new business unit within Kaiser Permanente's Bernard J. Tyson School of Medicine. During the January 2021 peak in COVID-19, Navi became an active member of the California Medical Assistance Team, also known as CalMet, which is a group of highly trained medical professionals and other specialists that are organized and coordinated by the State Emergency Medical Services Authority for medical response in disasters. As the chief of the planning unit, Navi supported in the state's medical response to COVID-19 by researching and analyzing COVID-19 data and trends. And for all of these accomplishments, plus many, many more, we congratulate Navi on this award. Congratulations. And I'm also pleased, if we go to the next slide, I'm pleased to award our, one more, thank you. Our next Early Careerist Award goes to Kiran Sakina Rizvi Jaffrey. Kiran has been an ACHE member since 2009, and over the past few years, Kiran has held key advisory roles within the CAHL chapter and Regents Advisory Council. She has 15 years of experience with progressive leadership growth in multiple areas of integrated health system management, and she currently serves as an operations executive at Sutter Health. Kiran was instrumental in rebuilding the clinical footprint in San Francisco and Marin counties for Sutter Health, opening more than 50 departments since 2018. And one of her major contributions was the opening of a little tiny 100,000 square foot multi-specialty medical office building on Van Ness in San Francisco. Most recently, her leadership in the pandemic efforts in San Francisco led to the city reaching one of the highest vaccination rates in the country. Karen has served as an incident commander for Sutter since the beginning of the pandemic in early 2020. She partnered with the SF Health System Consortium and represented her organization in mass vaccination rollouts, community outreach programs, as well as COVID management in the Sutter Health clinics throughout the Bay Area. Karen is also the co-executive sponsor of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council at Sutter Health and is currently rolling out unconscious bias training across the workforce. Further, Karen was born with a limb difference and has been a vocal advocate of disability awareness and a member of the Abilities Inclusion Resource Group to promote workplace diversity, resources, and education. Karen truly bridges community resources together, as demonstrated by her leadership as board president and board member of the River City Food Bank from 2011 to 2017, where she worked on joint partnerships with local food banks to not only offer space to operate in Sacramento, but also to build nutrition-based programs serving senior facilities in food deserts. These are just a few highlights of Karen's impactful career and community contribution. And so I am thrilled to congratulate you on this recognition of your inspiring journey so far. And now I'll hand it over to Abe to present the Senior Careerist Awards.
Thank you so much, Brianna. All right, so good evening, esteemed colleagues. Next, I have the absolute pleasure in introducing this year's Senior Careerist Healthcare Executive Award recipients. The first recipient is Mr. Tosin Boyo. Tosin joined John Muir Health in October 2020 and assumed the role of Incident Commander of COVID-19 Operations, where he redesigned the healthcare system's pandemic response plan with detailed standard work, surge indicators, various scenarios, and thresholds to ensure optimal capacity utilization. Tosin also brought together several healthcare organization executives and professionals throughout the San Francisco Bay Area in supporting our underserved communities, Black, Brown, Asian communities, to improve education and resources to help influence trust in healthcare, and especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Boyo was instrumental in the development of the patient-centered medical home modeled at San Mateo Medical Center. His efforts yielded improved healthcare access for patients and community members, team-based care, roles and responsibilities, and financial stewardship. Mr. Boyo was able to influence and enhance the culture of the organization from system leadership to frontline team members. In 2017, Tosin initiated and constructed the Equity Council at Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital. Over the next 3 years, Tosin served as the executive sponsor for health equity. He intersected the principles of equity with quality of care promoted through the performance improvement plan for all hospital departments and the strategic quotient of organizations. At current standing, over 57 of the departments has an equity matrix completed with drivers. In 2019, Tosin led the implementation of the electronic health record, EPIC if you will, for the entire San Francisco Department of Public Health Systems. Prior to the implementation of EPIC, there were over 62 various systems to access healthcare records. Tosin, congratulations, well deserved, sir. Our next recipient of the night is, slide over, Tracy Lewis Taylor. Tracy Lewis Taylor has over 20 years of operational and leadership experience and currently serves as the Chief Operating Officer of Stanford Healthcare Valley Care in Pleasanton, California. She has demonstrated excellent leadership in her professional role as well as in her community, especially around justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Some examples of this are she has served as the executive sponsor with the hospital structure, as well as the executive liaison for cross-campus system-wide governance during the COVID-19 response. This also includes establishing a consistent level of care to all patient types and activation of community programs that were open to all patients community residents, and not limited to those directly of Stanford Healthcare or Stanford Healthcare Valley Care. These programs included a widespread inpatient and outpatient COVID testing program, activation of therapeutic clinical trials, and activation of a local and community vaccination site. This latter initiative served over 40,000 individuals. She is recognized as a leader with a depth and breadth of knowledge in operational programs. It is looked to as a change agent within organizational culture. She has successfully built diverse teams and thrives on helping others leverage their strengths and reach their potential. In addition to her work directly leading hospital operations, Mrs. Taylor is a recognized community leader and serves as the board chair for the Pleasanton Chamber of Commerce. She led a team to develop an approach to activate an acuity adaptable unit, otherwise known as the AAU. This unit provides a new model of care which supports a more dynamic range of patient acuities and expected increase in demand for a step-down level of care between med-surg and ICU requirements. Finally, she continues to invest in the development of others, a foundational and core tenet of ACHE as an active mentor for several healthcare leaders. She's also an active speaker and resource for students pursuing advanced degrees in healthcare administration. She established growth opportunities for others to lead, including emergency preparedness, command center leadership responsibilities. And she has activated a structured rotation for hospital-based administrator on-call programs. Tracy, congratulations. We salute you. Audience members, please feel free to unmute yourself and congratulate all award recipients this evening.
Round of applause, please.
Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Back to you, Daria.
All right, thank you so much. Good to see you, Baljit. I'm going to miss you terribly, so stay in touch. I got your number. All right, chapter awards. Next slide, please. We're going to start with the President's Recognition Award. Kim Brown-Sims. Kim is the CEO and founder of KBS Leadership, but she has been our fearless leader through the 2020 pandemic, our first pandemic in almost 100 years. So thank you, Kim. Just to give you a little information about her, she holds an MBA and is licensed as a registered nurse, in addition to being triple board certified. The competition is tough, right? So she's a fellow in the American, with the ACHE. She has a public health nurse and a nurse executive advanced through the American Nurses Credentialing Center. I hope I got that right. She's held various leadership roles over 3 decades and has a passion for creating equitable, empowered, and inclusive business cultures. Additionally, Kim and her team help employers celebrate the gifts of expert workforce, fostering engagement, inclusion, safety, and improvements to the bottom line. And for those of you that don't know, she's written a book this year. So she's been busy. It's called Pricked, Healing the Heart of Healthcare, and it's being released sometime in the next few months this fall. So congratulations, Kim. And she also started a podcast, Prick, The Interviews, so bump, and is available on major podcast apps. I'm going to have to check that out. She lives in Napa with her main man, Tucker, who is a 2-year-old mini Labradoodle. So Kim, I can't thank you enough for your leadership and inspiration over this last year and a half. And yeah, don't leave me now. I'm going to need you. So congratulations. And, if you'd like to say a few words, please take it away.
Well, thank you so very much for this honor. It's been a privilege being a part of CAHL for this past decade. And I truly do feel like there is such a huge benefit to participating, furthering the advancement for peers, and also sharing your expertise and the experience that you have just in the day-to-day work. And so I I really have just enjoyed serving beyond what I could ever imagine. And last year being such a huge challenge, just really reignited, my love and my passion for healthcare leadership. And, was so inspired by all of you and what you have done to, keep our communities as healthy and safe as possible. So again, thank you so much for this honor. It's really your accomplishment, not mine. So thank you.
Every accomplishment requires a great leader. There. So again, thank you. All right, next slide, chapter awards. Let's hit the volunteers of the year. Next slide, please. So this year we had a very competitive field of volunteer nominees. And just so that our membership is aware, the criteria for the award is you have to be an engaged volunteer, actively participating for a minimum of 1 year with CAHL and or ACHE, and have contributed to the healthcare community or communities, depending, within the state in a substantial, important, or unique role. So, drum roll, please. For our first winner, we have, next slide, Shalisha. Round of applause. Shalisha, I met her last year. She was working for the CAHL Congress Committee, and she's been a force to be reckoned with, and very responsive to requests, to taking on all the additional responsibilities we've given her between last year and this year. And just to give you an example, she's taken on our social media work, which is no small task, and most recently our newsletter. So that newsletter was a huge undertaking, and she's just published, if you haven't seen it, it went out, I believe, today or yesterday, our spring and summer newsletter. So thank you, Shalisha, for that. She's also co-chairing our communications committee this year, and she has been a proponent of JEDI and a member of that committee, for at least a year, if not a year and a half, in addition to ensuring CAHL has been engaged in our social justice current events. So she has been a huge asset to our board and to our membership, and we can't thank you enough. So, round of applause. Thank you, Shalisha. Our next winner is, next slide, Deborah Moonhouse. I hope I got your name correct. Deborah has been a key driver in our mentorship program, and as you saw previously, the growth of that program over the past year. And she's been instrumental in streamlining a well-planned list of diverse mentors who are committed to partnering with early, mid, and executive level careerists in offering professional insight and guidance. Additionally, Deborah ensured the success of the program and its services, as well as its growth, and maintaining its consistency over last year and this year to date during this pandemic. We've received more than stellar feedback on this program, and we appreciate all her hard work that goes into establishing these cohorts. So thank you, Deborah. A round of applause, please. Okay, and our final winner, next slide, please. Rick Narad. I don't know if he's on the line, but Rick has made a tremendous impact on the advancement committee this year. Through his contributions of the pre-recorded knowledge area presentations, the committee was able to offer virtual Board of Governors exam prep series for the first time in CAHL history. He has given generously of his time and expertise, helping us provide these high quality teaching strategies. So if you would all like to unmute yourselves and give these individuals a round of applause, thank you. Your contributions are hugely invaluable to our board and our committee, as well as our membership in providing these educational events. So thank you. So without any further delay, I'm going to pass this off to Michael and his awesome background. Michael, take it away.
Thank you, Darielle. The ACHE recognition program is a program that is offered where we really celebrate members and in the activities that they do. And recognition is bestowed at 3 different levels based on the range of their specific volunteer activities that demonstrate their leadership as well as their contributions and towards professional excellence. And so with that, you can see that if someone achieves 125 points, they have the Exemplary Service Award. If they have 75 points, they have the Distinguished Service Award. And if they have 30 points, they have the Service Award. So if you go to the first slide, we're going to acknowledge 3 individuals that have achieved the Exemplary Service Awards. So we have Michael Brockloff, we have Kim Brown Sims, and we have Laura Hill Temmerman. If you go to the next slide, we're going to acknowledge the Distinguished Service Awards. And we have Ruth Sierri, we have Louis Fonseca, and we have Aaron Hawkins. And then the third group that we're going to acknowledge are Service Awards. No surprise that Navi Atwell is acknowledged, just as she was acknowledged previously. David Betancourt has also achieved a service award. We couldn't find a picture for Michael Costin, so we wanted to recognize him as well. Rachel Faber, Sachin Gangu Pantula, Mohit Gulati, and Christina Slee are the individuals that have received these awards. So I'd like everyone to unmute just for a moment. And let's give a round of applause, not only for them, but for all of the recipients for tonight.
Congratulations.
So one of the things that you'll learn from me as a president-elect is it's very important that we start meetings on time and that we end meetings on time. And last year we did not end our meeting on time. So I'd like to go to the next slide for us to do our wrap up. We couldn't do all of these efforts without our platinum level sponsors that are listed here, and very, very appreciative of their contributions to be able to provide us with quality education that's economically priced. If you go to the next slide, we wanted to also acknowledge our in-kind sponsors. I won't read their names. We wanted to acknowledge and thank all of them for their contributions, whether it was hosting a location for us to have an event or other contributions that they made. If you go to the next slide, we have some events that are coming up, and a couple of them are mentioned here. This one is the Mentor Program Showcase. We have a tremendous mentorship program, and this is on developing leaders one partnership at a time. It is an opportunity for us to really showcase the mentorship program, and whether you want to be a mentee or a mentor, this gives an opportunity for people to learn more about this. And there's no fee for this. The program is complimentary. The next one, if you go to the next slide, I'll continue to talk, is we have the Art of Virtual Networking. That is a qualified education program that's being offered on September 16th. We also have a program on September 21st, Learning from Leaders Panel Discussion. That's a qualified education program. And on October 2nd, we have the Board of Governors Exam Prep Workshop. So that for those that are pursuing their fellowship, this gives an opportunity to help us. It's a 5-part Saturday virtual series, quite extensive, and most people who have taken it have found it extremely beneficial. So we wanted to be able to thank you for, you will be getting a survey to be able to give us feedback. Tremendous amount of time, effort, and energy went into this program in terms of developing it. This is a membership organization, and it's very important that we hear from you so that that survey will be sent out after this so that you can provide us with your feedback. And We just wanted to thank you for your participation tonight, and also the presenters. Please remain on the line for a short debrief. So again, thank you very much for spending this evening with us, and let's just do one more round of applause for all of the recipients of the awards. So with that, we wish you a good evening, and